Hi boys and girls, welcome to your video on classifying triangles by their sides. So you're going to need your graphic organizer out. We're going to fill it out as we go through the PowerPoint. So the first type of triangle that we're going to discuss is an equilateral triangle. An equilateral triangle is a triangle with three congruent, which is a fancy word for saying equal sides. Now this is an example of an equilateral triangle, and we use these little marks to indicate that each of these sides have equality, or that they have the same length. So let's visit your graphic organizer, and on our equilateral triangle, again, all sides and angles, which we'll discuss in the next video, have the same measure. So we're going to use the little slash marks to indicate each side has the same length. Now the next type of triangle is what's called an isosceles triangle. And an isosceles triangle is a triangle with at least two congruent or equal sides. So this is an example of an isosceles triangle because this side and this side show equality because they both have one mark. This side of the triangle has two marks, therefore it is not the same length as these two sides. So on our graphic organizer, we're going to mark our isosceles triangle where two sides have the same measure. So in this case, this side and this side have the same measure. And then we're going to use two slash marks to indicate this side is not the same as these two lengths. Now the last kind of triangle we're going to talk about is a scalene triangle. And a scalene triangle is a triangle that has no congruent or equal sides. So you'll see it represented a couple different ways. In this case here, there's no marks, so that indicates none of the sides have the same measure. Sometimes you'll see it where there's three different kinds of marks on each side. So before we go to the graphic organizer, let's look at a few different other examples. So what I want you to do is look at these three triangles or four triangles and pause the video, and I want you to see on your own if you're able to identify or classify each of these triangles by their sides. No, really, pause the video. Okay, let's take a look at each of these types of triangles. So triangle 1 is an equilateral triangle because all sides are the same. I'm going to come back to 2 in a moment. 3 is isosceles because only two sides are congruent. And number 4 is scalene because none of the sides have the same measure. Number 2 is a right triangle. I threw that in there to see if you can identify. In the next video, we'll talk about classifying triangles by their angles. But this is what's called a right triangle because the box there represents a right angle. All right, let's visit your graphic organizer. So a scalene, all sides have different measures, or none of the sides are congruent. So we're going to use the three different slash marks to indicate all three sides have different measures. All right, this concludes your video on classifying angles by their sides. In the next video, we're going to discuss classifying triangles by their angles. All right. Thanks, Spidey.